Offroad and Overland. Today we're cruising around in my 1984 K25 Squarebody. Now, I got this truck for free. Yep, free. My parents had originally bought it for about $3 grand, and we had it sitting at our hydroelectric plant, and it had a slip tank in the back. It was just for hauling fuel around for the equipment during a large project where we were replacing all the penstock. After the project, we threw some chains on it and it sat up at the barn, and its purpose was to get us in and out of the hydro in the wintertime. Well, the knucklehead of an employee we had up there who was studying to be a mechanic said that the truck was dead and never run again. He said on top of that, it overheats. Well, this truck was destined for the scrapyard, and when my dad said that, I asked, well, if I get it running, can I have it? He said, yep, go for it. Well, me and my buddy Jeremy ran up. It took us 11 minutes to get this thing fired up after sitting for 3+ years. All it needed was a new battery cable. So we ran it, it ran good. The overheating problem that it had was just a bad gauge. It was pegged out, and it was as simple as that. I put in some Sun Pro gauges, and this thing has ran like a top ever since. I've done an oil change. It still needs a tune-up, but this thing, for being an 84 with a stock 350, it's got plenty of get up and go. So here in a minute, I will jump out and I'll give you a walk around and show you what we're dealing with here. I want to make this a project, but I don't want to go too crazy with it. I've looked at engine swaps. I've looked at just bumping up the power on this engine and rebuilding it, but it runs so good for now. It's just gonna be what I call a back burner build. It's just gonna sit around and get used, get driven until I have the time to make it what I want to make it, which I haven't really decided yet. There's a lot of crawler builds out there that I think are really cool. If I want to go classic with it, I don't know, but for now it looks good. And later in this video, we're gonna add some recovery points. We're gonna add some off-road lights. I'm gonna add a cup holder to my Plano box center console here. We're gonna throw some recovery gear in, and we're gonna mount a tire for the spare. I'll show you what we're dealing with here. Like I said, it's 1984. The first thing I did when I got it was throw a cheap rough country lift on. It was about 700 bucks. It is full leafs all the way around. In the front, we got a GM 10 bolt, holding up just fine. I painted the grill. I'll put a picture on here of what it looked like when I got it. I replaced that door. The one on it was just toast. It has power windows, but they don't work anymore. So now this is a extra manual window. No cranks here. Those are some 315/75 16s, about 35 inches on some nice wheels. Oh, I did have to replace the hubs. Put some warns on there when I got it. Still need to do some trimming around the fenders. Eventually I'll put a paint job on it. The headache rack is off one of my old projects. The toolbox was given to me from a friend. As you can see, it really does run good. The back is a semi-float 14 bolt. Eventually I'll paint it white to match my other rigs. Really not bad for a free pickup. We call it the dump runner or the trash truck because that's pretty much all it does. I ran into the original owner of it right after I got it, and he said this thing has to have at least 250,000 miles on it. It just replaced the brake booster this week. It has some seats, bucket seats out of a Volvo wagon. They were in really good shape when I put them in there, but they didn't last long. I bedlined the floor. You can't tell because it's so dirty right now. Added a fire extinguisher. That's always necessary with a ship box. I painted the inside already. This is my Plano center console. We'll get to that later in the video. These are the Sun Pro gauges I mentioned earlier. They kind of just sink down into the bezel. I put these white face gauges on it, but the speedometer doesn't work. And it's not just a bad cable. Eventually I want to put new gauges on here, but that's a later project. Really not a bad truck. I forgot to mention on the walk around that it also has a Turbo 400 automatic in it that works pretty well. I'm pretty excited about that. From what I understand, those are pretty bulletproof automatic. One of the most important things you need for an off-road rig is recovery points. Now, this is your cheapest option. I think both of these things are from Harbor Freight. These are like 10 bucks. I was just in there yesterday and these are like 8 bucks too. These are really nice because they just slide right into your receiver. Probably one of the easiest things you can do. There we go. Back's done. Let's move on to the front. Eventually I want to add a winch up here, but for now this will do. I think I can just mount it right there. So let me drill some holes. Temporary. All right, I got those tightened down. I was able to cinch that front one down far enough. Now I got front recovery. Let's move on to the center console. All right, here's my center console. It's just a plain old box. A plain old box. Plain old box. It just happened to fit perfectly between these bucket seats. There's metal rails down there and a lot of trash. So I'm just gonna use some self-tappers I had laying around to secure this to those rails, and then we're gonna go cut a hole for a cup holder. So let me get these in and then we'll head in the garage. For the cup holder I have this, it's out of the back of my old Duramax work truck in the fold down part of that seat. I think that'll work pretty good. I'm just going to set it right there. And then I'll just trace around it and cut a hole. Kind of try to center it a little bit. I want it to look good, right? pointing the marker a little bit in so that this lip covers whatever hole we cut. Clean up that edge a little bit. All right. Now I'll just use some of my favorite glue to hold this down. Let that sit with some weight on it and dry a little bit, and then we're off to SEMA. So this is what I have laying around for lights. These are just off of old projects that I've had. This one came off that new Jeep that I plan on flipping, and then there's two already mounted on the headache rack of that truck. So I think I'm gonna mount this one on the bumper. I think I'm gonna mount this one at the base of the windshield. So let's go drill some holes and see if we can get those on at least. All right, I think I got that one wired in. Hooked it up to the brights, which probably isn't too good of a thing to recommend. I think this week I'll replace all those headlights. They're all full of moisture and that one's dead. All right, now it's time to make the switch panel. I'm just going to use a old piece of license plate. I'm going to put it right here where this vent used to be. I think that's a good spot. And I'm just going to eyeball it here. Trying to figure out how I want to do that. Gotta get it rough. I don't have 10 snips, but these scissors seem to work pretty good. Found them inside in a box labeled "Wife's Crafts, do not touch." Well, I should have done that side out. That would have been cool. All right, let's go put some switches in this. Well, let's get this out of the way. I think it's probably dry enough. Cool. There's the 12 volt positive in. And this one will connect to the power wire that's coming through the firewall. That way, in case I need to remove this, I can just unplug it right there. Originally, I thought I'd put those pods up on the hood facing down at the ditch, but I don't want to drill too many holes in that hood, so I think I'll just put them back here. There were already some holes in this bumper. Eventually, I think I'm going to put a flatbed on here, but I'm not sure yet. Leave a comment, tell me what you think. Well, I ran out of daylight and had to finish with the headlamp here, but I did get it all done. Except for I need to zip tie all the wires in place, clean it up a little bit, but all the backup lights are mounted. Unfortunately, I didn't get to any of the recovery gear mounts for the high lift or setting up my spare tire, but I'll do that another day. There's the switch panel. Turned out all right. It's not the prettiest thing, but neither is the rest of the truck. Now I have cargo lights. And some reverse lights on the bumper. That's kind of hard to see when all this other light going on. Well, we almost got all this stuff done. Walk around, put on the recovery points, lights, switch panel, super duper center console. Gear mounts were pretty much just going to be bolting the high lift into the bed somehow. And then I need to mount the spare tire on my spare wheel. I got a bunch of free spare tires. They have really good tread on them from a friend who just wanted different tires. And then I have the steel wheels that came on this truck with some small tires. So I'll put that one on here. And then I think we're going to take this out on a trail and see how it does. I got some tire chains for it. the high lift, chain, and then all my other Jeep recovery gear. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment and I will get to those. Follow me on Instagram, Empty Pockets Offroad, or at the Cheap Hawk, and let me know if you see more of that Squarebody out there. I'm going to show it anyway, but let me know if you're into it. See you next time.